us, and that's fine. Tonight, thank you everyone who is here. Thank you. This is the November monthly meeting for Housing, Health, and Human Services. And I am co-chair Maria Ortiz. My co-chair is
Joe Rasuccia.
And MCB4 has adopted a hybrid meeting policy where we will both be meeting in person and virtually. All community board committee meetings will require an in-person quorum in order to conduct business. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability or an extraordinary circumstance as defined by the New York State Open Meetings Law. Excused committee members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. Committee members who are joining via Zoom must leave their cameras on. Thank you. We encourage members of the public to join virtually, and the hybrid policy can be found on our website. Tonight's meeting is being recorded and is currently live streaming on YouTube. If this is your first time attending a committee meeting, what happens is the procedure for tonight is going to be that we are going to have a presentation, and then the discussion goes to committee members. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. I have to remember this is public, not private.
Yes.
The discussion goes to the committee members after the presentation. Then members of the public can speak on any on the item that we heard, and then the discussion goes back to the committee, and sometimes we decide to write a resolution or write a letter that goes to full board for the following month, and that gets voted on. Tonight, the first thing on the agenda is the temporary hotel. Are we gonna keep it in this order tonight?
No, we're gonna go with the, well, first of all, you gotta get the view fixed. We normally have the room as the, in other words, the speakers are the main view.
So you wanna do it that way?
Yeah,
Okay.
otherwise it's not gonna record well. Yeah. Nellie, are you sharing the screen right now? Nellie,
It is
Sorry,
on.
Joe, could you repeat that again?
are you sharing the screen right now?
Not sharing the screen. Hold on one.
Yeah, here we go. Now we can actually have, especially for the recording, that's what they're gonna see, otherwise it's too small to
Do you
view.
want to keep it this way?
Yes,
Okay.
okay,
For some
so
reason, it's not picking up us as.
I know, I think this camera. is
Sorry,
not
Roberta,
working.
we actually see you. We see right now, we see Roberta and Joe primarily, and then a small carve out for the whole table. But I think it's fine for the recording. We can see.
Yeah, I think the sound activated part of the cameras is not working tonight. That's what it seems to be, Nelly. So just a quick note. We thank, first of all, members of DHS for being here today. We'll do committee introductions first, and then we'll talk to one of the agencies here tonight to present. So let's go around the room, starting with
Paul Ames, public member of this committee.
Hector Vasquez, MCB4.
Travis Rogers, public member.
Pete Diaz, member.
Joan Danielle, member.
Dolores Rubin. Roberta Barnett, member.
Maria Ortiz, can y'all see me? Doesn't look like it, but I'm here, Maria
Yes.
Ortiz.
And I just want to note for going forward, especially for the agencies. So tonight we have two absent committee members, and we have one attending virtually with the excused virtually Betty McIntosh. And then Jessica Jade is merely attending, even though she's not part of the whole quorum stuff issue. Not able to be here tonight. So we just are being joined by Katie Stokes, a new committee member.
New old.
And another committee member having walked in the room. Just going forward, I'd like to know for the agencies, I understand why you have difficulties sometimes coming to meet with us for DHS. However, for the partner agencies, for the not-for-profits, we are going to request that you come and present to the public and to the committee in person. It is a normal thing that we do in terms of respect. You are having an agency, you're engaging with some sort of facility in our community. We need you here in your room to deal with the public. So please know that going forward. I say this is Project Renewal, and I say it to Urban Pathways. We worked with you folks for many years, and we expect that you would come to the room, talk to people, and engage with people directly. Since all of us are sitting here in a room because we are taking time out of our days and our evenings to work with our community and to engage. So going forward, we really want to say that. I want to turn it over, I guess, now to Leilani and to Marika. We spent many evenings regarding shelters and different kind of facilities. And are we ready to start with drop-in center or West 44th Street? Because I understand as of this afternoon, we still have not received a questionnaire on West 44th Street. Leilani, Marika?
Hi, we're actually, good evening, everyone. Good to be here again. And as an introduction, well, I see there was a little chuckle there, so maybe that's a good to be here as a point of view.
We're
But
working together always. We're working with you forever. Remember that.
yes, I will. And thank you for that. And my name is Marika Scott. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Intergov and Ledge Affairs here at Department of Social Services, HRA, and DHS. And we are missing a couple of team members, but for the sake of time, and I know there's some work going on in the background to get them the link, but again, for the sake of time, we will move forward. We know time is valuable. And I'll just ask Leilani, introduce yourself as well, and then have the other folks from Project Renewal and otherwise introduce themselves, and then we'll just kick it off. So I see some people are joining, so start off, Leilani.
Yeah, hi everybody. Good to see you all. It's been a while. I think that's a good thing, right? But it's been
Yes and no.
Leilani Irvin, for those who don't know me, I'm Manhattan Borough Director for the Department of Social Services. It's a pleasure always to come before your committee. We look forward to answering all of your questions to the best of our ability. My counterpart, Marsha Horn, cannot be with you all this evening. So I'm happy to be here on behalf of Marsha. And I'm going to turn it over to DHS programs, Rosie or Yvonne. But it looks like I see Rosie.
I see Rosie, but not Yvonne yet, right?
Hello, everyone. My name is Rosie Gellin. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for Shelter Operation. I'm sorry, I'm on the bus at the moment, so please excuse me. Okay.
Thank you for
And
Okay, well, thank you so much. And Shannon, could you introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Shannon Gonzalez. I'm the Vice President of Programs, Project Renewal. Thanks for inviting me tonight.
And if Yvonne will join us, and she'll just jump in when it's her turn. So we're not strangers here. As you just alluded to, there's Project Renewal has an excellent track record in nonprofit. They've been bringing services to the community for many years, and now we are here at your request, but definitely happy to be here to talk about the New Providence relocation. And I understand there's a lot to discuss as we bring this sort of transfer facility here for a temporary basis. And I'll leave most of the data around that and what that will look like to Project Renewal. But again, happy to be here to talk about the site, and then we'll obviously be right here to answer any questions as we move forward.
I want to first set the table for members of the committee and the public who are watching. The issue, we're going to hear from Project Renewal about exactly the program and the transfer that's happening. But let's talk about the process. And Leilani and Marika, we're back again to minus square one with this. The way our community was informed about this shelter opening was from a member of the Block Association who found out from a UPS man who went to the Ramada, who found out the facility was opening. That happened I received an email during a meeting I was in with the council member. I informed the council member of this during a meeting. And then the following evening at our community board, from the mayor's office, what is her name? Robin from the mayor's office, our community board informed her she was not aware that a shelter was opening. Now, when we put all this together on a very poor rollout process, the other part is this is a relocation of a facility from East 44th Street, correct?
Correct.
Right. How is it that HRA and DHS did not know that this shelter was being relocated? Because in fact, what's happening is that site is being redeveloped into a larger shelter at the current location. And this is a 100% wholesale relocation of all of the clients from there to this location. Temporarily, we understand. Why would you not know that well in advance so we as a community could prepare our residents, our stakeholders, our business owners well in advance that there's a reason, there's a justification, here's what it is. Why would this just be dropped in that it has to be a block association member informing me, informing a council member, and then we are informing the mayor's office? You got to get that one off the table first before we talk about this facility. So Marika, I give that back to you, unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately I take it, I accept it. My understanding and we will be accountable for the misstep that occurred here. I understand that due to the way the addresses were presented, we notified and did not actually notify to board 4, which you are. We actually notified to board 6 at where the site is being relocated. So like I said, I have to take accountability for that particular misstep. And you know, it's a little bit of crow, but we have to eat it in an effort to understand and be transparent. And you know, when we say we try to be accountable for the notifications that we make, we're not perfect. In this case, this was a faux pas that occurred, and I have to just apologize to the community on behalf of our process that we didn't get it right.
How many months in advance did DHS know that this site would be used for the relocation of an entire shelter from East 44th Street?
I don't have in front of me the date of our notification on the site the bad one, the one in error. But what happens with the relocation, obviously it takes time to know that the facility is closing down and then rebuilding. And so as you described, there is a wholesale rebuild and of another site in a different community board that it's going to include in supportive housing as well as shelter, and that was presented to that community board a while back. In this case, there's actually less folks coming into the Ramada, but we've moved them from the community board 6 site that needs rebuild, and then we're moving them into this Ramada site. So
right, but I just want to know for the record that I read about this rebuild and creating of supportive housing in a new shelter on East 44th from Community Board 6 in Cranes months and months ago. That is something that DHS has known about, but I want to turn for a moment. If we come back to you, we'll take some questions from the committee members. To Shannon, Community Board 4 has worked with Project Renewal for decades. We have worked in a partnership with Project Renewal. Why did Project Renewal, outside of anything with DHS, just approach our community board to say, you need to be aware we are moving a facility into your district? Because that's the normal thing we do as partners. Did you please respond to that?
I'm going to step in on Shannon. She's welcome to answer whatever she'd like to say after I speak. But the process that we all participate in, the provider in this case, project renewal relies on the notification of where the sites are opening, coming from DHS, DSS, and we, I'll say it again, we messed up.
Right, that's a
But I'm not gonna put that on their plate.
Relationship with this not-for-profit. We have a working relationship on multiple locations in our district. We work with them well, and we have issues and we work through those issues. They know us, we know them. That is not constrained by your notification process, that the leadership of this not-for-profit could come and knock on the community board office and say, we are considering the possibility of relocating to a site in your district. We want you to know about it. We want to talk to you about it. This is what people who work together do, not just relying upon a notice procedure that failed. I want to say this bluntly, and I would appreciate Shannon, and I'll turn it to our committee members, if you can respond to that.
But again, I have to just reiterate that they are subject to the process that comes from their contract. So, I mean, I don't want to throw Shannon under the bus when it's fully a DHS process that they participate in as a partner with us. And could they have called and knocked on the door? That might have been an informal conversation. But for the purposes of tonight and this meeting, which is not informal, which is a very formal process, we rely on the notification process. So we can admonish each other on informal issues in an informal way but not in a public forum where we know that we have to follow our procedures. And I don't want to put Project Renewal in a position where they are even considering a process outside of one that they agree on with our process when they work with us.
So just a potential suggestion to your procedures might be helpful. I know that in our workplace, occasionally we send an email to maybe the wrong place. That happens. The borough president's office does actually aggregate or have meetings with all of the district managers, and they also have them with all the chairs. Would it be something to consider about notification across all the district managers when somebody's moving into that particular borough, or the borough president's office to disseminate that information? That way, if there's a error of where the address is, there's at least some accountability across one of the agencies that engages with the community boards to ensure that we have this information in a timely manner. Just something to consider. And in terms of that, what Joe was talking about is, I've been at every single time we've had to engage, I've said this publicly. This is a community board that wants to work to solve these problems. We're not a community board that's going to tell you, get out, we don't want this here. And what DHS is not taking advantage of is the fact that we want to help and we want to do this work. And by hiding behind the bureaucratic processes of this is the official time the notice goes out, and not being able to open up normal lines of communication to say, we need some guidance here. What's happening within this neighborhood? One thing that is very important to consider is the safety of the residents that are moving into this location. I've grown up here and I would have never normally said this, but our neighborhood in some areas, particularly 44th Street, is actually a dangerous neighborhood. And that's a consideration for this population that's moving here. And unless you talk to the community, unless you're engaging with the groups that actually understand what's happening here, you may not be making the right decision for those residents. That's what we're asking.
And as a chair of a committee that has sat through multiple discussions like this, I'm going to ask Project Renewal a question, and I would like a response. How many facilities do you have in Manhattan Community Board 4? Shannon?
This is the third.
Could you just give the addresses so the full public and the committee knows where the facilities are today?
I think that we will not share the addresses publicly. That's not something that we do to social service law. We don't share addresses publicly.
I want to say to you again, we have all kinds of facilities. Do you have this is like I'm in a rabbit hole of we're not going to discuss what's on the street that everybody knows. And I'm watching the representative from Project Renewal not really engaging, but hiding, quite frankly, behind DHS and HRA at this point. I'm sorry. This is a public discussion. We know this is the Ramada Inn. We know where it is, right? We have an address in front of us where it is, 343 West 44th Street, because we live and work here. To make it sound as if this is some privacy, client confidentiality thing is not true. And I've said this in other public meetings. Let's stop this.
Well, I'm very disappointed that you decided to share that information outside of the fact that we just asked for discretion because there is client privacy involved. It disappoints me that you chose to share it, but
It's a public facility. People on the street and the neighbor know exactly where this is. Katie, if you're going to talk about confidentiality, it's not legal. It's not the issue we're talking about. Please speak.
Marika, you made an interesting point about or somebody just said, this is a publicly funded place. We also don't release the addresses of domestic violence shelters.
It is not a domestic violence shelter.
It isn't, but that's also publicly funded. So I think, Joe, you had asked for the other addresses of Project Renewal.
Yes.
They don't need to discuss that right now. We're discussing the one that's in front of us. We do have this address. And I think it would be.
I'm going to say that is the parameter you're trying to define for this conversation. I'm asking a long-term community partner.
Yeah.
They have other locations in our district. Yeah. We work with you. We have had community board meetings in your facilities. We work hand in hand. Why would you not? Because you have a relationship with our district and our community board, just come and talk to us so we can help you and respond. And it is not just the DHS process. If that's the case, why are we having any discussions whatsoever? We have a process. Here's what it is. That's it. That's it. That's it. You're trying to build trust and connection with the community. You don't get that by hiding. Shannon, in your other facilities, don't we and haven't we worked together with our community board and our district manager and our block associations? Can you answer that question?
Sure, I think we know the address, they don't.
Yes.
I mean, for the record, you can Google them very easily. It comes up on a map that shows in our district exactly what.
Does it show it on their website?
Well, the question still stands.
I'm sorry.
So no, well, I tried to go to the website. We're having some connectivity issues. So Google's working properly. The website's not working properly without connection. If you Google map our neighborhood and type in Project Renewal locations, you can get some great dots.
Because Marika, we have endorsed those other locations. We worked with Project Renewal on those locations for supportive housing or Araka. Why is this some like secret idea? It makes everyone feel
because there's privacy concerns around our clients. It is within our obligation not to share it, and we share it with relevant parties such as the community board on the basis that you should know, and we share that with you. And it's again disappointing that you don't want to. I mean, these are our clients are folks who deserve the right to privacy just as well as every other member of the community. And as a rule, and as we adhere to privacy and social service laws, we do not share that. We also ask that you be considerate of our population and not share it.
That is the legal citation where this is covered under privacy. Can you please send that to us so we can see it?
Absolutely, done. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Now, can we get a report? There was an initial meeting that was hosted by Councilmember Boxer last week on this facility. Can you, Shannon, now describe to us the demographic, the nature, what is happening, and we will respond to what we've seen so far in terms of the facility? And what is the duration of the stay?
Sure. So we moved the ladies to the facility on October 6th. We're expected to be at the Ramada Inn temporarily for approximately 3 to 4 years. As you know, we've moved our existing New Providence shelter from East 45th Street to West 44th and at a reduced capacity. So the Ramada holds 100 clients rather than the 130 that we were serving at New Providence. The hotel offers 70 rooms, 50 of which are dedicated to residents. So we do have them paired up in each room. Each room has its own bathroom. We offer 3 meals a day. It's prepared, cooked and prepared by Project Renewal, delivered daily. We have security for every shift, so 24/7. We have a camera system, and just a brief overview of the services that we provide to the women there. We provide comprehensive case management services, connection to health, substance use, and mental health care, occupational therapy, recreational activities, securing and transitioning to permanent housing, assistance with benefits, and support with employment goals. We do have a med van that parks in front of the hotel 3 days a week. And we're working to coordinate with the community to schedule ongoing CAB meetings. Our program director, along with our director of security, will be making rounds to the local businesses to introduce themselves, provide contact information, and support in the event that they feel that our residents aren't adhering to the good neighbor policy.
That position again? Well, that last position you described, what is that now? What's the title of that person? The
We
title of
have
that
a
position?
program director and a director of security.
How many do you have 24/7 security?
Yes, we do. We have 4 on our 8 to 4 shift, 4 guards and 1 supervisor, so a total of 5. That same pattern for the 4 to 12 shift, and during the 12 to 8 shift, it's 3 security guards and 1 supervisor.
Yes, Katie.
Can you tell us what kinds of services are offered by the med van 3 times a week? And are those services also available to others in the neighborhood, or is it specifically for the shelter residents there?
No, it's open to the neighborhood. We offer medical and mental health services.
And are there also vaccines being offered there?
Yes, there are.
Thank you.
Yes, Katie.
Shannon, this is JD. Are you also in charge of Project Renewal on 48th Street?
Yes.
So we've engaged before at the Block Association meeting. So I know that address. I can share it with the other members after the meeting. But Shannon, my question to you is twofold. Project Renewal on 48th Street is very well run. And you do interact with the local block association generally in a positive way. Have you made contact with the West 45th Street, 46th Street?
West 44th.
But over there's
I know,
Yeah.
but there's several, or the West 44th Street Block Association before coming in.
No.
Okay, but you just said you were going to reach out to the local.
You asked before we moved in. No, we had not. Since we moved in, yes, we have.
Oh, you have, so you have made
Yes.
contact. Okay,
Eric Botcher, the council member, hosted a meeting last week.
that's
The
great.
Block Association. So,
So my second,
yes.
sorry, Joe, my second question, will your folks, your clients, or however they refer to, will they be traveling to other social service facilities in the neighborhood? Fountain House, Project Renewal, will they?
Yes, we try to partner with community organizations to partner with for our clients, yes.
So they will be traveling to other neighborhoods, block association areas. And are you also reaching out to those block associations, for instance, Fountain House? Or what have you, Orion Center?
I mean, I think I'm taking away a lot from this meeting, and I think I see the importance of reaching out to different block associations that will be partnering with their community organizations.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to Sharon in a second, but Marika, just so you're aware, and the floor, so you're aware, this community worked with Ed Gethron, one of the founders of Project Renewal, and on 448 West 48th Street and 351 West 42nd Street to secure both funding, support the idea of supportive housing and a RACA for mentally ill on West 48th Street. And we worked to make sure those vital facilities came into our district. And what I want to bring to your attention is that this organization knows how those levers of public information and engagement for community run. And there is zero excuse. You have made from DHS some sort of error, I understand that part, and thank you for owning up to it and being honest about it. We really appreciate that. But for the not-for-profit who has worked in our district for literally decades, not to take the moment to call our community board office and say, we have this possibility, we want you to be aware of it, how can this work or not work, and what's happening around it? That to me, there is no excuse. Zero. So Shannon, I'm surprised because the relationship has been really excellent over a very long time. Yes, Rita.
I wanted to be very clear that I appreciate the partnership that Community Board 4 has given, not just in the near past, but throughout the time that you've been working in the community. I am indeed new to having these communications with you, and I don't want that to be negated by any conversation that we have here this evening. We appreciate everything that you do. We appreciate how welcoming folks are from the community. And I genuinely believe that even when we disagree, we come from a good place. You from representing your community, and me from representing my agency and the clients that we serve. So just to be clear, I really think even as we become more impassioned on these topics, it's all from a good place, and I thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. So let's talk about this block for a moment, then we'll have some discussion. Dolores, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this block is a problem block. There was a shooting on that corner on Halloween. There is a ton of narcotic activity around this area. It is on the border of 2 precincts. So unfortunately, sometimes things slip through the cracks. It is very heavily populated, as you are aware, as its proximity to Port Authority, but also as we've had an enormous number of the migrant community relocated into hotels around that area. There is an enormous amount of congregation along the corridor of 8th Avenue right on this corner. As you'll see, many of them are looking for work and are on and do have the motorbikes for that delivery service. The reason why I mention this is this may be a concern for your residents, your women residents, as there's a lot of activity in the area that may be difficult for them to deal with. It's very different from the east side. The other thing is in terms of the other issues of the location, it's just generally crowded. And while I applaud that you have a Metavan and that it is open to other folks, it would be great to at least know that there's a plan around coordinating across other nonprofits that are in the area that are also providing different types of services, and how perhaps that's either shared activity or either it's not crowding too much of the activity. So just hoping that that's something that you're able to do.
The other thing you need to understand is that the 8th Avenue corridor between 35th Street and 45th Streets has the highest number of drug felony arrests of 77 precincts in the city. That's the highest number of all precincts in the city. We have experienced a very large narcotic influx along 8th Avenue. The lower portion in the 30s is heroin. The higher portion is crack. We have active, visible crack use all along West 43rd and 45th Streets, 8th to 9th Avenues, and that has now bled into West 44th Street between 9th and 10th Avenues. I met today with a series of neighborhood stakeholders and our Assembly member Linda Rosenthal about this very issue, because our immediate response is, and I understand that some of the clients there have substance abuse issues. We are concerned about locating facilities in an area that has become an unfortunate drug marketplace. I don't want to underestimate from Marika and for Leilani to hear this and understand this clearly, but Shannon, you're the one who needs to know this. We have the special narcotics prosecutor leading a major effort along 8th Avenue from 35th Street to 45th Streets. It has been infiltrated by gangs. They are fighting with each other. We have had incredible amount of violence. Warn your residents, do not go to Chick-fil-A on 43rd and 8th. We have had violence at that location numbers of times. We have had stabbings. And we have had a lot of assaults.
Shooting.
And, a recent shooting, but we had shootings before that too. So it is not a joke. And I know where they were on East 45th Street, by Grand Central over there. This is a very different environment right now. And I say this from both sides, I do not want to see people who are vulnerable preyed upon by dealers who are out there to make a buck. This is not a joke anymore. So the number of our members of our block associations, of our community board have been assaulted on 9th Avenue between 43rd and 45th Streets and on 8th Avenue. Not good, right? So we have our CAB meetings, we want to talk to you about this, because we're going to need you to attend our precinct, our Midtown South Precinct Community Council meetings in order to know what's going on. And then your security. I think, Marika, here's where I got to ask you from the HRA part. We may ask you to get a little more security here or tight, because this is a difficult block right now. And just last week was a major buck and a wreck right opposite the facility. And it's not going to be good for people who are there at all. So Shannon, that's one of the things we're very concerned about. The second part is you need to provide a place for smoking. We cannot have people smoking in front of the building. I walked by last night. Residents were smoking weed out front. Not a good thing in your first welcome week here at all. But also we learned in West 57th Street when we dealt with the Watson, providing a place for just regular smoking made a big difference in terms of perception to the neighborhood. Remember Leilani, we did that whole walkthrough, right? Where it really helped. Like some simple things like this are going to make a difference. I don't think there's any space, but maybe there's something that can be figured out. The other thing to say is for your residents, please do not stay away from McCaffrey Park. We're having constant drug activity. This is on West 43rd, east of 9th Avenue. Serious drug activity and fights in McCaffrey Park. And it pains me to have to report this to you, but this is the reality that we're dealing with. So please hear this, that it's not going to be simple, especially if someone is addicted or struggling with addiction, and then they're thrust into somebody pushing crack on them immediately. So can you give us a little bit of reaction to that, Shannon, to sort of
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that information. And I mean, the one thing that I can say is that we're working with the hotel manager to open up that back space. We're about a week away from them closing off. There's a certain area that they need to close off for their sheds. And then once that's done, our clients will be encouraged to use that back space.
Can you have both your management people and your security guards make sure they let the clients know, don't sit in the front there, right, once you have the back space open, but also they're sitting on tree guards just to the west. And those are some troubled buildings in themselves too, in other words, we're trying to stop the interaction with other issues that we got going on. I noticed that last night. Our community board meeting just happened to be on 44th and 8th. So a number of us both walked that way, we noticed the connection. And these are clearly, we're not homeless individuals. They were people who were domiciled clients. There's no question.
Joe,
Yes.
One of the, Shannon, could you just, your clients, your clientele, are they formerly unhoused? Are they,
shelter?
This is a shelter.
This is a shelter.
This is a women's shelter.
It's a women's shelter.
A women's shelter, so folks possibly with issues that they are trying to overcome. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think you have something in front of your camera. Yeah.
No, she's fine.
Oh, the light.
I'm sorry?
I think part of her head.
No, she's fine. I think it's your ankle. It's your ankle.
Oh,
Or
okay,
maybe.
oh no, it's in our room, Shannon. Sorry, it's in our. Like Parker disappeared.
So one other thing, and Maria, you and I, having dealt with the women's shelter that's already in our neighborhood, one of the issues that happened, particularly after they first moved in, obviously moving is stressful. It triggers a lot. And what we had was an enormous number of 911 calls from residents And usually it was over disputes with a roommate or things that probably could have been handled. That happens, right? But again, you call 911 and someone has to respond. So I'm hoping that you have had an opportunity to engage with the neighboring precincts and at least have a relationship with the NCOs so that you can establish some sort of sense of trust, of a way to resolve maybe some of those issues instead of 911. Because one of the issues that we had with the women's shelter being on a highly residential block was constantly there were ambulances or police vehicles that were responding to many non-emergencies. And that may be something that that is costly for you, but also could be more stressful for the other residents.
But
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, and I do want to just say that our director of security was specifically hired to develop relationships with local precincts. So he does have working relationships with the NCOs. He wanted to join today. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to, but he will be part of future meetings, and I will let him speak all about those relationships. Secondly, to address the 911 calls, I am happy to report, and we've been there shy of a month. Our 911 calls has significantly decreased since we've moved to the Ramada from when we were at the shelter on East 45th.
When you say, I'm sorry, when you say decrease, Shannon Marie Ortiz, I don't know if you can see me well down here. When you say decrease by what percentage or by how many? What's the amount? I'm curious.
I don't have the percentage, but I know that since we've been there, it's been about 7 or 8 911 calls, and mostly for medical or psychiatric issues.
The other thing I wanted to piggyback off of what Dolores said on 52nd Street, there's a site there. And one of the things besides what Dolores said about mitigating the ambulance and police cars out in front was also reminding residents to tell staff first if there was an issue. And sometimes the site or the nonprofit provider would also have a taxi or an Uber service and send people to the hospital that way. Ambulance and police in front are not always necessary. There was something else I was going to mention. I don't remember what it was. Well, I just have a quick question. Shannon, I'm sorry, I missed who you were. What your title is at Project Renewal?
I'm the vice president of programs.
Vice president of program. Okay, thank you. And I'm just curious, the Metavan, I heard you say they also have mental health services on the van. Specifically what?
Psychiatry.
Psychiatry?
So maybe as we have our CAB meetings, we can work with you to integrate you into the service structure that exists in the neighborhood, as opposed to necessarily in a van, so we could plug the clients into the existing social service infrastructure. The other thing to know with NCOs, as you know, I run supported housing, especially with some with mental health beds. We really will sit down with the NCO and talk about specific individuals that we know are going to have multiple problems, so they're aware of it. And instead of coming in gangbusters, they're aware of who it is, they're familiar, and it means that the person gets treated better and differently to get through a crisis, because that's a big issue as opposed to tarring everyone with the same brush. You know what I mean? We found that relationship stuff really makes a difference in helping people out. Katie?
Yeah. Hey, Shannon, I just had 2 questions. Sorry, 2 questions for you. One, I know that a lot of social service agencies are having staffing issues. Losing my voice. And I wondered if you are able to be 100% staffed right now, or if you're still looking to staff up. That's my first question.
Sure. We are fully staffed. At this point.
Great.
Yeah.
The first one, we're gonna do it like that, right?
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
She didn't say the staff number, she just said they're fully staffed. Okay, good.
That's awesome. And just my second question, we actually have announced a coat drive that's happening later in November, and I just wondered if all of your residents have winter coats. That's all.
Probably not.
We are in need of resources. We always take donations. We always take resources. So if you have any information, I would love if you can share that.
It's sponsored by the community board and a number of not-for-profits, and let's get to the information too. JD, and then I'm going to.
And then I have after JD.
I'm sorry, Shannon, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I think I will, because you do a great job. And we do appreciate it. A couple of months ago, there was a resident of the 48th Street project review site who went out and stabbed a couple of people. 2 people. When you came to the block association, the question was, is this individual going to continue to be housed on 48th Street? And again, going to the privacy issue, you could not answer that. Not you, Shannon, but the representative. It took a couple of months before we could get an answer to that. So to follow up on Joe's point, I think it's important that there is direct, quick communication, and that if there is any trouble, it's addressed immediately. And can you assure us that that will be the case? Yes, privacy is important, but so is the safety of the community. So
Shannon, do you have the real time, the 24-hour number on hand that we can share? Otherwise, we can always send that back in tomorrow's communication.
So I can send out a one-pager on our site. I did draft one, and it has the contact information. It'll have the contact information for our front desk, which is manned 24/7. It'll have my contact information, the director of security, and the program director of the site. And I can circulate that tomorrow.
Thank you for that. And the more communication you have with the NCOs and the block associations, the quicker things can be resolved in a positive manner.
So going around the room, committee members, you've spoken a lot. Paul?
Well, so obviously, I'm sure you get the drift of this. All I wanted to throw in the conversation is I've been in the neighborhood for about 40 years, and for many people here, I suppose folks who stick around, you either like the way the neighborhood is historically behaved and how welcoming it's been, or you don't. I just wanted to mention a simple but disquieting fact, not anyone's particular fault, I guess, but just the way things have gone the last couple of years, especially what Joe mentioned, getting the news that our neighborhood is going to be invited to do still more than their share than they have historically done is very disquieting. And I just wanted to mention, you know this, but I can't hear it said often enough. It is possible to change a neighborhood's mind. I know people who have already left 2 or 3 years. Now, that probably wouldn't happen anyway. Folks age out, get sick of the city, whatever. But not knowing and finding out casually on the Hell's Kitchen website, hey, what's that truck doing unloading mattresses in front of the skyline? Again, not the way to do business. That's all.
Hector?
This seems to be a repeated thing when it comes to DHS, unfortunately. What is the criteria that you folks are using for moving folks to a temporary shelter? Because it seems repeatedly, you folks are not doing your homework and investigating the neighborhood and trying to notify the folks involved, the block associations, the community boards, that sort of thing. What is the criteria? Because honestly, I don't see any research, proper research being done. Dangerous areas, high risk.
Or the councilman.
Yeah. Anybody?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? I don't think
My question is,
it's kind of like went out for me for my end.
What criteria do you use before moving someone to a temporary shelter like you're doing now? Because this is not the first time where we've had an incident where it's a high risk area and it's not a good idea to put especially migrants into that kind of situation.
No, these are single women.
Okay, single women.
Single women.
Either way, it is not a really good environment to put these folks in. So what is the criteria that you look for? What do you do? Do you do your research? Do you do your homework before you decide on a particular hotel that's going to be renovated or a space?
So I was still was still going in and out, but I understand you to have asked that what the criteria is for coming into this shelter. Is that correct?
No,
Into this facility.
Relocating,
facility.
okay, let's clear what it is. Relocating a facility into a hotel at this location. It's not a facility, it was a hotel. So what is the criteria? How did you go through the choice to come up, say that this works for the relocation of the East 45th Street shelter?
I mean, I can speak in general terms, in terms of the fact that there was a need to move from the previous location due to many issues there, and the desire to rebuild it to a different capacity and a different use. As the process proceeded, it becomes obvious that there's a need to move the residents who were currently located there to somewhere else. As you know, sometimes when you do renovations or something like that, you may be able to stay in place when it's obvious that you're not able to stay in place for a rebuild of this magnitude. They start to look for a space. I think the fact that it is at a hotel speaks to the process itself, and that it needed to happen rather urgently, having not found any other suitable space. And so moving into this hotel, as you highlighted, was the best and viable position for this temporary move that needed to happen, because so that the process is.
Just let it go, because this is a not-for-profit redeveloping a site for multiple uses, and it is their job to find a relocation, and they worked with you, but there are no criteria. That's really clear. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Travis, next.
Well, I'm trying to transition, but I have one more question on this issue. You said
I gave an answer regarding the fact that there is a process that includes, but looking for space, but this is not, we're highly regulated facilities. We answer to both state, federal obligations on any facility. So there gets to be, it's not the expanse of the island of Manhattan where we can go. So I think that I was trying to answer the question given to me. If I did not, I apologize. I'll try again.
No, I just want to address one of the things you stated, so I want to get some more clarity. You said one of the reasons for relocating was due to many issues at the location. That's pretty vague. Were there many issues in the neighborhood? Were there many issues with the actual facility? What were the issues that prompted of that many? What were some examples of the cause that had to be compelled to have to relocate?
Well, I don't have a list. It basically anything there were repairs that needed to be made, I'm sure, and also a desire to make the facility, as we've already said, multiple uses. It was at housing 130 folks with single female, and then it's going to be a larger facility, and it's going to include some supportive housing as well. Yvonne, you wanted to add to that?
Hi, this is Yvonne Ballard. I apologize. My camera is off, but years ago, and I can say that because I've been around for a number of years, but years ago, we took buildings that were sent to us, any building that came to us, and we opened a shelter in it. We have since learned over the years the importance of having a trauma-informed shelter and a safe space for the clients that enter into our system. New Providence was the longstanding shelter. It had its issues, like Marika said. You had leaks, you had elevators going out, you had just an old building, and it gets to a point where we decided, along with Project Renewal, that there was a need to upgrade a building. At that same time, we had the opportunity while we were renovating, but to add in extra housing, supportive housing. We're going to have, Article 28 clinic that's there. And so that was the deciding factor. We went into 44th Street, which is a hotel. We've learned since COVID that we can utilize hotels for our population. Sometimes it works. It works really well when they're in smaller settings. That's like a motivational effort for the clients, that you're in this hotel and they don't want to be transferred out. So they tend to be on their best behavior. We still have all of the programs and all of the services that are still there. And so that's been helpful. We've learned that since COVID, when we de-densified a lot of our locations and moved into hotels.
Let's go to Travis, follow up, and Pete.
I have one more question. So you mentioned 24/7 security. One of the issues that's been brought up with a number of the relocated temporary shelters is that the security at the sites have not been great at diffusing issues with residents at the location, people outside, and so forth. What type of training does your 24/7 security have in de-escalation of issues, diffusing issues? And I'm assuming that due to this being a 100% women's location, that there are some folks that have been domestic violence victims, and so there's probably going to be issues with the diffusing the abuser showing up.
Yeah.
So I want to be aware. I want to be aware of all the trainings that the security has.
Sure. So many of the security guards are females themselves. That was intentional. We do have a long-standing relationship with the security company that we contract for New Providence. A lot of the guards that have been there have been with us for quite some time. Our director of security provides quarterly de-escalation trainings, and that's in partnership with our staff, so that we were able to team together to address issues. And then we also provide competency trainings to our guards as well.
Pete?
Hi.
Speak loudly.
Hi. You have a good job in taking care of these individuals. It's not easy, I know. And the reason why I know is because
Speak louder, Pete.
the reason why I know that you have a big job in your hands is because I live with some of the homeless people, and it is a challenge. Recently, just a few days ago, a homeless person broke our building door.
Louder.
It is hard to deal with the number of homeless people coming into this neighborhood, especially when we don't know them. The thing is, sometimes the units or the housing that you are providing for them is not up to par. And in our instance, we took matters into our own hands and actually had to take the landlord to court.
In Pete's own building where he lives.
Okay, and that was initiated to help your organization. Okay, so we managed to get the carpets, the hallways fixed, and the bathrooms.
This is not a repatriation, it's project renewal.
Right, but I think we have also some people that might be. We have a number of people from outside. I'm just saying that the problems continue to exist. I've seen homeless people across the street. But from some of the clients, homeless clients, they tell me that the staff, there's a great turnover on staff. So that contradicts what I think Shannon stated. And so I'm very concerned about that. That means that there's a burnout issue here. And how are you addressing that issue? Again, this was told to me by some of the clients.
So I believe the former question was, are we fully staffed? And my answer was yes, and that stands. Do we have high turnover? I think that you will go through peaks and waves where you're going to have high turnover, and then there are going to be times where you're going to be able to retain staff. We have a smaller program now. And right now, I mean, we're fully staffed. I can't speak to what's going to happen later. We do, we have a recruiter who helps us, replace positions that are vacant. I mean, and within the organization, I mean, we provide promotion opportunities for people, so that way we're able to attract and retain staff.
I think you're right, Pete, it's very hard, and she's right, waves. Stability, and then people leave and sort of churn, and now there's a lot of competition, like Katie noted, it's very hard to, it's a hard market to staff in, right, Shannon, that's what we're all finding in this.
And what about the clientele, to follow up on Pete's, is it pretty stable?
Oh, yes, I guess that was the question that maybe didn't hear, is the current client base, are they long-term in the facility, I mean, what's the nature of residence there, in terms of duration, Shannon?
I mean, many of our clients have been with us. I mean, it varies, you know, some of our clients have been with us longer term and we're working with them to address some of their concerns. You know, if someone does happen to miss curfew, we do open up that bed for anyone else in the DHS system who might need a bed and fits the criteria for our site. So it does range. I mean, and I think, you know, I can answer that best by saying, again, it's peaks and waves. Sometimes we'll have more stable group of women who will stay with us for longer periods of time until they are stably housed. And then there are times where we'll have a batch who you'll see kind of come in and out. And, you know, until a point where they eventually just leave us. Right now, we have a pretty stable batch.
I want to come back to Chuck's, Rachel, question?
I don't have any particular questions other than I think it's great what you guys are doing, and I think all of the feedback we received today just supports the fact that you guys have to help us help you, right? So establishing clear standards, having a clear set of criteria that we can put forth. That's all.
Katie?
Still working on my voice. So actually just going back to what you were saying about all of the trainings that you're doing for your staff, that sounds great. And you said that you have all these different programs for your clients. Can you just tell me, I guess this follows up a little bit, but what is like the average length of stay for your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of our longest term. I mean, it can be anywhere from about 9 months to 2 years, 3 years. It really depends on the client's case. You know, listen, with this population, you have some people who are more eager to get out and they do what they have to do. They have to bring in documentation. It's a reciprocal process, right? It's one of those relationships where they have to provide things for us so we can help them in the housing process. So, I mean, it does vary. I would say, again, anywhere between 9 months to 2-3 years.
Great. Okay.
Thank you. JD?
Yeah, to follow up on that point, if they do leave, where do they go? A, and B, I think it would reassure the community if you could tell us what it was like on East 45th, 44th Street. Were there complaints? Did it work out fine? Were there issues? I don't know if you know that, Shannon, but can somebody speak to that?
I mean, I can tell you, you know, if we have clients who leave the facility, I mean, you know, some people, they choose to bunk with a friend wherever that friend is. I mean, this is a very transient population. It's hard for me to say definitively where somebody lands. Once somebody does leave our shelter, they remain our shelter client. So if they do pop up in any other shelter, they will be referred back to New Providence. Unless we are requesting a transfer, at which case we partner with DHS to get them transferred to an appropriate facility. At East 45th Street, you know, we did see a high level of turnover. I mean, we had a really large group of women who were with us for quite some time, but we did have a chunk of that who were pretty transient, in and out. Unsure if that answers your question, but I'm happy to clarify if needed.
I'm happy to just add some context, if I may, from an intergovernmental perspective, in working in this role in overseeing CB6 districts. I never received any community complaints from the board or from that could jog from my memory, just pulling from my memory. This was not a problematic site. I will say that Shannon I know very well, and I know that she and her staff do a really good job with connecting, especially with the local NCOs. And so I know that there's a very strong partnership, not just with the priest, but with other, civic and nonprofit organizations and community districts. They make that a priority when they move into any community district that they're in, to ensure that our clients feel like they're a part of the community, as well as that folks in community can help our clients. And so I know that with the few sites that I've participated or had oversight of in certain districts, very little complaints from my perspective.
That's helpful, thank you.
Mhm.
I have no further questions, thank you.
Roberta?
I did just want to thank you for being here, for the work that you do, and also thank you to the folks at DHS for the apology about the miscommunication here. I think it's very important that ideally not happen again, because I think the trust element here is important. I guess the only question that I might have would be, just if you could talk a little bit more about your services for helping people find permanent housing and how effective you are at placing people into permanent housing.
So we work with HRA to work on submitting housing packages for supportive housing for our clients. And also we take advantage of the many resources that DHS provides for connecting clients to other subsidies, so City FEPS, SODA. I don't have the number of placements that we've had in the last year handy, but we do fairly well. I mean, anyone in this housing world also understands that, you have to strike while the iron is hot. We generate the packages. So when we are notified or we're hunting for housing and we're informed that there are vacancies, we're pretty aggressive at trying to connect our clients. Our housing coordinators are well versed in the supportive housing programs that are offered throughout the city. And they are out there forming relationships with landlords who will accept the other city subsidies.
Shannon, what do you do when your clients turn down the supportive housing? Because that has been my direct experience for quite some time now, that clients are just turning it down, and their answer is, I get a FEPS voucher, city FEPS voucher, I don't need this, thinking that somehow that voucher is going to get them a $1,500 one-bedroom apartment somewhere. I mean, we have a structural problem going on where clients are turning down housing. I have not seen this in the decade that I've done this. How are you managing? How are you engaging with that?
I mean, I'd be, remiss if I didn't say it can be frustrating when you're working so hard for someone and they turn down a really good opportunity that is a good opportunity for them. But I think the important thing here is, we meet with our clients, we engage with them, and we follow up with the reasons for turning it down. We document that. And if it's something about, a shared unit and their site provider can, support that the client would benefit from something that is, their own, something that they won't have to share, then we lean on that. I mean, if we have somebody who's habitually turning down every housing opportunity, we consult with DHS and we do case conferences.
Yeah, so the DHS is bringing your attention to, that's a new trend that's happening of folks turning down units over and over. And it does cost more to stay in the shelter than it means supportive housing. We've all learned that lesson a long time ago.
I don't see it as a trend, a new trend, right? And I'll just say this: I've been with shelters for 39 years. Over time, our shelter residents, similar to like every other human being, can be very territorial. All right, New York City has 5 boroughs. I grew up in Brooklyn, so I like to tell people if I ever I want to stay in Brooklyn. I don't want to go to Queens. I don't want to go to Staten Island. And it's the same thing with our clients. I think that the important thing for us or our providers to do is to consistently meet that client where they are, to engage them, and to repeatedly keep the engagement and the communication open. They might turn it down once or twice or 3 times or 4 times. But sometimes, just that right conference, just that right word can swing them to accept housing. We have a very vulnerable and fragile population, and we have to talk with them, engage with them, and see, how we can best meet their needs as far as housing. And you also take into consideration, our population has, they may have been in shelter. This is their de facto family. And so it's very hard for them sometimes to leave because they've gotten comfortable. They've developed relationships, whether it's with staff, whether it's with other clients. And there's a fear there. So you have to, talk them out of that fear. They've never lived alone, and now you're going to move them. So you have to cross all of those barriers and all of those challenges. And sometimes that does take a while. And yes, I agree with Shannon. It can be very frustrating when individuals turn down housing that we know would best meet their needs. But it's like, constant engagement, constant talking to them.
Yvonne, thank you so much. I just want to note, I think we're struggling with the fact that we don't want to perpetuate people being comfortable in a shelter situation because there are all kinds of needs, and we're all human beings. Everyone's a human being in this thing, but it doesn't serve anyone, community, nor the clients, to constantly keep the machine of shelters going. There has to be a point that we all reach to say, if someone has turned down housing, 7, 8, 9, some number, that they go to the bottom of the list for this, because you've got to get people in permanent places where they can prosper and not just have an alternate reality of shelters where you prosper. Let's go to Maria to close up on this.
Absolutely correct. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but I also, need everybody to understand that these are vulnerable. They have issues. They have challenges. We have to deal out those challenges and issues. And that's what we do. We engage them. We open up doors of communication. Like Shannon says, DHS comes in, we hold conferences, we look at different areas, we try to meet those needs to move them. Because everybody knows, we want you to go into permanency. We want you to go into self-sufficiency and independent as much as possible, and put you in housing where you need that, where you are able to get the support that you need.
Maria?
I have so many thoughts and comments that I want to make. One
Just
thing
make them
is,
say it.
Yvonne, I've seen you a lot before, so hello again.
Hi, and I'm so sorry because I don't have glasses and I'm on my phone because it won't open the computer. I can't see anything.
She doesn't have her glasses on. She
can't even see me anyway. Okay. One of the things I will say is I am proud to be sitting on CB4 on Housing, Health, and Human Services. Sitting at this table alone, we have somebody who's on the board at BRC. We have somebody who's a nonprofit developer and runs supportive housing. We have a social worker. We have me, who's another social worker or psychotherapist. We have several people who volunteer at shelters sitting on this board. And the reason why we have an annual giveaway CB4 because I spearhead that. Okay, so we really care about the population, right? Even though we may give a hard time, we really do care. One thing I want to ask is, are we, I can't remember if you guys were given and I don't know if we're doing it, the social services provider checklist. Did we
have not gotten it yet at all. They're completing this. Not correct, Shannon?
Shannon, you guys are doing that, the social services provider checklist for CB4?
Yeah, we just received it today, so we'll complete that.
Okay, great. When do you intend to have that back to us? Give yourself extra, be generous.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to be fully transparent, I'm on vacation next week. So what I'll do is I'll consult with the chief operating officer and see if we can have somebody at headquarters complete that and get it back to you rather than you waiting on me to return.
By next Friday, that would be great.
And just keep in mind, there's 2 holidays next week.
Is there?
Oh, that's
Yes. Yes. It is a very short week, 2 holidays.
Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, I just want to know, there were also holidays when the decision was made to move the shelter over here. That you knew in advance, guys. Come on.
All right, so maybe like Monday, November 13th. That would be awesome.
Thank you.
The other thing is the 1-pager, Shannon. I heard you mention you're going to get that to us. Were we given that before?
No, you
Jen,
weren't.
and you guys were there for a month and we didn't get that. That would be really important for us to get.
If I can just say, I'm just collecting contact information. I have Jesse's contact information. I have Nellie's. If, I'm happy to reach out to them and collect everyone at the panel's information and share that
So
with
we'll
you.
get that by tomorrow, that one pager.
You'll have that by tomorrow.
Yes, thank you. The other thing is the addresses, that came up earlier. I know Marika, hello Marika again. We've met in person. The addresses of the sites that Project Renewal has. My understanding is that we're not supposed to know where clients specifically where they live, but if we know where the site is, that was okay. If I am incorrect, if we could, as Joe had mentioned earlier, and I was thinking the same thing, I didn't get to say it, but if we could have where in the social services law, what section that is, so that we're not misinformed. I don't think it's okay if we're giving out the wrong information, right? So if we're not supposed to mention the locations, then I would like to see that where that's documented and written in the law. Because it's normal practice that we always document the addresses in our agenda. The addresses we're talking about, whether it's a shelter, whether it's a residence, it's an office building, we always note it in our agenda, which is public information.
So I'll just go circle back on that one more time, just so for the clarity that I intend on the matter. We do share with the community board, absolutely, as part of the notification process. You should know the address that we're talking about. We do that. We ask that you not make it public information. If you're saying that it is a part of your agenda and it has not been noticed. No, please let me finish. Please let me finish.
I did hear you say that earlier. I have other questions and comments, and we have something else on the agenda, and there's members from the public here who want to speak about a new business. So I really would like if we could move on. I did hear you say that before. You're not permitted. DHS cannot say the locations, and you prefer we not do that also.
Well, then we're on the same page. I'm happy to move on. Thank you.
What I am asking is if we could please, if someone can send us, Yvonne, Leilani, Marika, someone else, Rosie at DHS, anybody can send us a social services law. I tried to Google it already just earlier and I couldn't find it. The other thing is information about the area. Joe was giving some information about the area, and I needed to add that I think when we truly care about the well-being of our residents, we care about where we are placing them, and we want to find out the information, know where the hotspots are, know what's happening in that area, right? That doesn't, and I think part of what we did today could have happened in an informal way or not in a public meeting about what's happening in those 2 or 3 area blocks. We could have done that. I've been on the board long enough to see it happen for other things, where we talk about what's happening in the area. And I think when we care enough about our tenants, that's what we do. Just like when we send our kids to a school, oh, tell me about the community of the school, right? We do that. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. And the other thing I'm wondering about is, when is the CAB going to begin?
I think we are in the process of developing the list. We're happy to take recommendations as we normally do with CABs. We're happy to work with you. We also work with the other electeds in the area to form the CAB. And I could see a CAB standing up within a few weeks to a month.
Oh, okay, that's
also, Marika, we found a location for you to meet on a regular basis for the CAB. We did that this week.
Good.
Jesse will communicate that.
Awesome. Thank you. As always, happy to have you as a partner.
Nellie, do we have anybody who's raising their hand in the public who wanted to say anything? Besides, we have Chris LeBron here.
Also, committee member, Betty's on.
No, Betty had to, I think Betty had to.
Oh, sorry.
But Chris LeBron is here, a member of the public, but also a CB4 member.
Am I allowed to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate the presentation and the time and detail that you've given this committee today on the matter. I guess I have a philosophical question. My uncle actually worked for social services, so did my father. and I work with your department out in Brownfield and Ocean Hill. There was always a long conversation when I was in the city council about when does a neighborhood become insalubrious for siting a shelter? And members of this committee and members of the community have already detailed what exactly is wrong with 44th Street. 44th Street's nickname is Heroin Alley in this neighborhood amongst PTA members and businesses. When can we, if this location, it fails, not that project renewal fails, but if this location fails because of the amount of crime and the volume and, I don't know, diversity of crime, what triggers a change in site for project renewal to ensure that our new neighbors have a safe place to stay temporarily while they're clients with project renewal?
So I just want to remind everyone that this is a temporary space, that it's only being considered to be used for the next 3 to 4 years, considering the rebuild. So it's not a long-term.
3 years in a dangerous neighborhood is dangerous now.
Miss Scott,
Hold on a second.
Yeah, I've been here for the whole presentation, and I understand it's 3 to 4 years. I'm just asking when does DHS and Department of Social Service say this block is not safe for the clientele of project renewal and we need to relocate? Because many of my neighbors are relocating because that block is unsafe.
I don't think that I have an answer that you are going to be happy with. The fact is, you know, I'm trying to I want to explain that in regards to this facility is very much meant to be a temporary place, and we understand some of the challenges in the community based on that. But in general, it sounds like you're saying the block is just not someplace where people should be, and I don't think that DHS has arrived at that conclusion.
Right, so you should just be aware though that people who live on 44th Street between 9th and 10th are now not walking on 44th Street between 8th and 9th on the way home from the subway. I mean, this is I'm not saying everyone's dying tomorrow, but it has changed dramatically in the past year. And just you need to hear that and understand it, because we're the folks on the ground, you don't have the information, and we're trying to give you the prep and understanding like what happens. So again, first of all, I want to say, as always, we thank you for someone else. We thank you for all of your time, but we would like, as I said in prior meetings, never to have this meeting again. And yet we've had this meeting again, which is no notice, incorrect information. This is not a case of a COVID relocation because of health purposes. It's the redevelopment of a site on East 44th Street to build a larger shelter and supportive housing. And everybody knew about this for a long time. You came to us about the next project, and the person who spoke said, we have to be opportunistic. And I have to say that you need to stop being opportunistic and actually plan and think about how you site for success and not site because of opportunity. This hotel was used as a COVID isolation hotel, and it was a great amount of crack activity and drug activity on this block. When it was closed, that went down dramatically. Unfortunately, some of the remnants of that activity stayed there and built a crack market from 42nd to 45th Street.
As we predicted that.
As we talked about it, but it really happened. And our, as I said, Midtown South, top precinct of drug felony arrest. The second one, Midtown North, just to the north. We learned this last night from the commander making a report to us. There comes a point that forget the opportunism, think about the success. And 3 to 4 years is a long time for this facility to be in this location. We've had a great, and then the project renewal, you blew it, I'm sorry, not to say it. You had a great relationship with us over decades. And in this action, just makes the whole thing, the trust factor just goes away because you didn't bother to come and talk in advance. And if DHS said don't come and talk in advance, then you as a relationship management in our long-term community relationship should have just come and talked about it. We'll write you a letter like we always do. We'll detail everything after you send us your questionnaire. But these meetings really don't foster community trust and long-term willingness to engage with more facilities. And you've heard us say this before, but we like all of you as people. But the way the work happens and the way that things get solved, it just turns people away from supporting our most needy New Yorkers. I want you to hear that. And I know I've talked to people offline and you understand that, but it doesn't help today. So thank all of our.
Before we leave, is there any way to have a requirement at DHS that you are required as part of the process to notify community board before you do this? Is there any way to get legislation?
They have a notification thing and it wasn't followed, but I think the real issue is, I really.
They just went to the wrong.
Yeah, I think the real issue here is though, I think you need to notify well in advance the consult so we can engage and help manage it. But if that's not what you're told to do, you're not gonna do that, so.
And can we clarify this? We are required to have a public meeting.
No, they do a notification and then we respond. We're gonna get that clarified. We're gonna clarify, no problem. Yes,
Do we really need to write a letter?
yes, we do.
I know we do,
We
but
need
there
to
needs
put-
to be a motion.
So hold on 1 second.
Yeah, yes, we need to put everything on record, so we have a record of everything that's happened here, like it has for the past 15 shelters.
So my question though is that we haven't received the questionnaire, and the questionnaire, well, my question is that, and again, this is not kicking the can down the road. I think it's important to understand how Project Renewal responds to the questionnaire, because right now we have some answers, we have some things that aren't answered. Wouldn't it be more appropriate for us after we've had the questionnaire to go over it next month?
I would propose we do a simple letter on the failure of process
Okay.
for this month, and then do the actual
Then-
substantive
then-
for the next month.
So then I make a motion, not about specifically Project Renewal, we'll make a motion to document the displeasure of the overall community board on the failure of communication, recognizing that although there was an error in how it was communicated, that the same problem still exists, that DHS is not recognizing this community board as a partner in the process of helping our most vulnerable.
Is there a second on that motion? Second. Travis? And it's a very general sort of.
Very general. You wanna add something? I can tell you, you wanna add something.
Well, I'm not sure I want to add something, but I would change the tone a little bit. I really do think there's a difference between them not reaching out to the community board at all and reaching out to the wrong community board.
Well, that's why I
So-
had said that recognizing that there was a problem, but the general issue is not the fact that a notice didn't go to the community board, it's how
That's
it's
not the issue.
communicated. The communication that went out, this notification was, there will be a relocation in your neighborhood. That's still a problem. And that's what we've been addressing for years now, years.
And this provider knew what community board this lived in and should say, you know, we really gotta make sure we work with them so well for so many years. We need to reach out to them and have a discussion.
So.
I know this is an internal discussion, but
Yes.
but since we are here, I would love to hear that there is some acknowledgement of DHS as wanting to be a partner despite the error, and perhaps that's just semantics. But again, since I'm here and we're talking about it, I would love to hear at that particular acknowledgement. And the formatting that I was listening to did not lean in that direction. But I know I don't get a vote.
No. So we do recognize that all of you that are here tonight, you are partners in this process and you're following the policies of your administration. We're not addressing this letter to you. We're addressing this to the head of your agency to say there's still a problem. And
Okay,
that
you put my name in there and say that I want to be your partner and all of the project renewals, because I need some support.
Also, Marika, we will note that you publicly apologize and we appreciate that. Because you did that, and that takes a lot to do in these meetings, these difficult discussions.
But I would add, they've apologized every meeting. This is not the first time.
Yes, it's true, but it's not in the same way. This is the first time, and I think it's been like 3 or 4 years that I have heard it this way. The way Marika said it today, I have never heard it that way.
So we have,
Well,
we
let's wait till the
have
next
a
meeting.
motion and we have a second as a part of order. Can we please
Yes.
vote on that or have a discussion?
So we got the general gist here, talking about general failure system. We're gonna acknowledge the apology.
But
from
Marika
DHS.
is a partner.
We're all partners.
Listen, you might not want to be in the letter, Yvonne.
No, I don't
throwing
wanna be in the
myself
letter.
on
I don't
We
be,
might
I don't
have-
wanna be on that
we
hill.
We might have more sway if we actually just let people know that you're doing a great job. And the
Yes.
letter itself is about your agency.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring a
Well-
little levity to what we're discussing. Sometimes that gets lost. But indeed, we as an agency do sincerely want to be a partner, and we will be here anytime that you guys ask us to be, because we want to continue these conversations.
Let's make sure so the caveat there is yes, before the next thing happens. Come to us, please.
Can you just clarify, so we're saying there was this goof up, it went to the wrong community?
No,
No, the letter is not about the goof up. The letter is a continuing story. This is a continuing story of the failure of an
No,
agency.
we're gonna leave
Thank
you
you
to
so
your
much.
internal discussion. We thank you for
Yes.
having us.
Enjoy dinner.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you
night,
all.
everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night. Good night.
This-
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
This
I kind
is
of try
a-
to get
this
out
is
of
a
this.
story of the failure of this agency to work with the community. Full stop. This is, I mean, maybe there was a mistake, but that's irrelevant. What's happening here is we get a notice saying, there's a shelter moving in. Yeah, let's say the email did get to us, the notice would have been a shelter is moving in.
And in previous meetings, they stated that won't happen again.
Yeah.
They stated, in our videos, it will not happen again. If you remember, we had the one that won't happen again, and then the poor Leilani in a meeting said on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
there are no more shelters coming, and
And
on
then-
Friday.
You know what, right? And actually, there was.
So this is not about punishing the folks that actually do the work.
No,
This is about trying to help this agency correct some of the problems that's actually making it more difficult for the community, for the public to be supportive.
So specifically, what are you asking for?
We're asking for them to amend how they communicate, period.
And their process. In other words, the simple thing, what strikes me, the most shocking part to me is that this was a redevelopment of a project that is funded by DSS and HPD, and probably everyone is on, right? Everybody knew this thing had to be relocated and moved. They knew that. And they knew it not yesterday, they knew it a year ago.
Right.
And they were shopping, and all they have to come and say, listen,
This is
we're
one of the areas
shopping,
we're looking at.
we're looking, are there any blocks or something that may be too difficult or whatever, we'll say, or maybe here, I don't know, it's whatever, you have a
This is what we
conversation.
did before the pandemic.
We did this
Before
for the
the
pandemic all the
pandemic,
time.
if there was ever a shelter, when BRC came into this neighborhood, that was a conversation that happened well before that shelter opened. And a lot of the conversation was about the block, the size, the character. And what ended up happening was they did not take our warning and we had problems. Many of them got worked out,
Yes.
but still the process was, we're looking at this location. How does that fit? And we've lost that.
I find that advocacy or letters are super helpful if they're specific. I'm just trying to figure out, so what are we asking?
I'll write it and then we will.
Are we asking for like
Hold on,
we want?
one second. There's something that actually, I think what you're sort of looking for is like a solution and or a suggestion, and Dolores actually had one before. Can you just say what it was again? I think if you could put that in the letter. You said a better process, for example. I don't remember who you said.
I think it's, as part of the citing process, you consult with the local community board, you
No,
don't
there was something
notify
else
them,
you said during the meeting.
because
Oh, the mayor's office, or you said something else.
Oh, I said that they really should, so that there's not a snafu. I could care less if there was a snafu. People
Yeah.
make mistakes.
Absolutely.
That's irrelevant in this conversation.
Actually, we should acknowledge it, so that they did. Actually,
it's documents, yes.
The change, us looking for change, I mean, we can document to the hilt that this person made a mistake and they acknowledge it, and that's really brave of them to acknowledge it publicly. But the problem has nothing to do with the fact that the email went to the wrong place. My recommendation is that because of the fact that the borough president of whatever borough it is
does communicate and is in charge of community boards, a different agency of this city, is that notification goes to the borough president
Also.
and or all the district managers. I mean, again, I don't know whether that's practical or not, but that was just something I was saying aside, but we've strayed from the motion. We've strayed from the
Right, and
motion.
I guess the thing that I'm trying to figure out, how to get back to, Laura said, the pre-COVID stuff, is that for project renewal on 48th Street, project renewal on 42nd Street, in the Old Holland Hotel, that group came to this community board, and we worked with each them to figure out months, like over a year, 2 years. That was a ground up construction on 48th Street for the Rocca, 42nd Street, the Geffner House. That was a horrible thing that we worked and helped get money to become supportive housing. And what happened is, you got everyone with their arms around it. You got a sponsor project. 42nd Street had one sponsor that was totally impossible, and it got booted out quickly, and then project renewal stuff did and saved the day. So like, that's the kind of thing that we're used to doing if we're part of the consultation process, not just the notification process. And by the way, 100 beds are coming to you because we're doing something on the east side and we didn't know about it. No, they've been shopping for long.
So back to the motion. The bottom line is what I'm really moving is not different from 7 or 8 different letters we've already written. We're asking to write the same. thing.
Roberta.
Sorry, Roberta. I didn't.
I'm on the motion.
My hair is in the way. No, appreciate it. So would just request, I know that you have made the motion, just request as a potentially friendly amendment that we do acknowledge that we are in a particularly difficult time and that DHS is, while it is not acceptable to the community and the community does not appreciate this, that they are struggling to figure out space, in part because of the need to.
Well, giving context, you're asking to give context, and context is always in every single letter
Always,
that
yeah.
we've written.
Not
specifically this,
Yeah.
but because.
I don't agree with that, Roberta. I mean, what you're saying is true, but I don't think it's our job to defend DHS in any way. I don't think that's the right agency to
I
interact.
think we should know though that even within the crisis that exists today, there's still basic ways of engaging that get a job done that doesn't create public outcry.
I not disagree with that at all. I am simply making the case that to the, extent that we want to, appreciate the work that the people who are doing the right thing are doing, we put it in the larger context. I mean, DHS effectively said,
Every letter we see that.
they said, we opportunistically took a space because it was there.
They did
that's-
say that.
And that's
video.
reflective of a particular, point in time, place, and it's really bad, but we know where that comes from.
Haven't they told us, when asked in the past, more than once, more than 6 times, what's our procedure for getting space? When a space comes along, we grab it, because it's not enough, and nobody likes the idea. This neighborhood seems to have been doing more than a share for a long time, but that, when we have a process, that, they've said that to us over and over again.
Yeah.
When something comes up, we grab it.
I think our ask has to be, it has to start early in the consultation process. That's the bottom line.
We want to be part of the process. We're not an enemy.
I think we're a city agency, as you have said, and we deserve some respect.
All wrapped up together.
And we've said it
So-
over and over and over, and every time there's an excuse.
So basically, I'm gonna go back to what my motion is, because I think that will clarify, and if it's something that someone doesn't agree with, just vote against it, okay? So, no, serious, because again, we're not gonna please everybody on the language and the tone, we really aren't, okay? But what we are trying to go ahead and say to DHS is that the process that they're using is not allowing us to be a good partner. And that they are continually not informing us in a way that allows us to help their residents succeed and allow our community to prepare for how to help them succeed.
Sounds fairly straight. Yeah.
And so we want them to contact us earlier. I mean, just what is the ask?
I think the ask is to be part of a consultative process prior to notification.
We're not giving a specific time, like we're not saying.
No, it's just, it's good.
Lovely, great, because I think in the past we have done so,
No,
so
and-
I'm just trying to clarify, so I know what I'm voting.
I'll give you an example, Katie. I think there are 2 locations that our community board has said, please don't do them here. One is the one on 39th Street, a little tiny narrow sliver thing, like in the middle of track central, and this one. would have said, let's think someplace else in our district, right?
And they do it anyway.
Huh?
And they've done it anyway. So
So-
they tried to put something else in this location?
Well, this location was like, was a sort of isolation, it got closed, and it became, like, the block store returned somewhat to normal, and then the crack thing fed from 8th Avenue. So that's,
So anyway, that was my motion. And I had a second from
Travis.
Travis. Okay,
All those in favor of the motion, which is this simple letter, and then we'll take up the substantive issue on this shelter next.
And can we put something about the temporary aspect in there?
No, this is gonna be, that's gonna be the next letter. That's gonna be the substantive letter about this.
Okay. Right.
Sorry.
Temporary is not 3 or 4 years.
Oh, no, really, I was like,
anyone opposed?
all those in favor? Okay, good.
We did it all.
Great, all right, now, I don't see us having anybody here, Maria, for this drop-in center.
I'm sorry,
For the drop-in center,
what about,
it's on the agenda.
yes, but I don't see anyone here for it.
That's what I'm saying.
He just said that.
Yeah, I noticed that
Who's on
earlier.
first?
Nelly, are you still with?
Nellie?
Yes, I'm here.
Is anyone here from-
No, I think there was a misunderstanding with Leilani and DHS.
DHS?
Yeah, with the agenda.
Oh, yes.
All right.
So just let me get it clear that basically there was a discussion that we thought we were notified the drop-in center was coming tonight, but in fact they're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a misunderstanding about the agenda and what that they were supposed to be covering for tonight.
Nelly, do they have the social services provider checklist?
Yes,
Yes,
we already
they
got
do.
that.
They
They did
yeah,
it already?
they have it.
Which one?
No. That's Manhattan Community Board 4.
We gave the social service provider checklist to the drop-in center back in.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
This is
It's been so long.
Yeah,
They've had it.
they're opening in 2 weeks.
My memory only
And it's
lasts
still-
like 30
no.
days.
Yes,
Wait,
it is.
I'm confused.
The drop-in center at 771 9th Avenue between 51 and 52.
So we gave them this thing back in 21.
And we wrote to them and they did a checklist.
Yeah,
And
they've been
then
trying to open.
And they have not opened. And they were supposed to come tonight to describe exactly what their program was in detail. Or so we were informed by DHS incorrectly.
And they're opening in 2 weeks, you said.
We don't know. No, say, they were gonna open in 2 weeks a year ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It's still January.
It's the old Janovic.
That hasn't been gutted.
Well, they wanted to make it a restaurant, remember, we had
They
that
wanted
big sign on
club
it, because they wanted to.
Yeah, no. They've been.
And it's next to a hospital.
I will tell you, whatever it was on the building side, they don't know what they're doing and they got caught up, so.
Okay.
I mean, it's not happening.
We have a hand from Alka.
Okay,
Nelly, can you bring her over?
and then we have one piece of new business, be brief.
And then Katie also, Katie Savage.
Yeah.
The news, want to talk about the drop-in center.
I think so, yeah. Hey, Katie.
What did you do here first?
I can let Elka go first, or
Well, you're up, so.
Elka's
Okay.
not throwing over.
all right. This would be a new business thing that maybe could go for the December meeting.
Oh, so we're moving on to the new business?
Well, no, we thought they were, hold on one second, Katie, we thought you were coming over to comment about this drop-in center that's not on the agenda.
Oh,
So-
well, I mean, that sucks, but I don't think there's much I can say about that.
Sorry, but if you give us a moment, Nellie, can you bring over Elka too, so we can see if she wants to comment on that, and then we'll move to new business.
Yeah.
Yes, Elka's on. Elka, you need to unmute.
Elka, you there?
I am here. Hi. Yeah, I mean, so 7719th, do we know who's going to be running that? And if it's so
Yes.
imminent, the opening?
We just, first of all, the opening was imminent 2 years ago. We don't know we know who's running it, Urban Pathways, they're the ones who came and presented initially. And to our knowledge, they are still running it. There's still a communication problem between DHS and the board. We thought they were making a presentation, giving us an update as to when it was opening and what was happening.
Oops.
That's incorrect. So we have no information is the answer.
So we'll move it to next month.
I think we'll move it to when we get informed that they're gonna come. So
Well, I
let's go
think,
to.
I think we should just punish them and just close the place down and say, no, you can't do this anymore.
You'd have to open it first to close it.
Wow, Elsa, you're feisty after waiting this long to speak.
But anyway, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we have one item in new business, definitely. And Katie, are you interested? There's another item you want to introduce or asked to be talked about?
Yes.
And
So,
maybe.
yeah, unfortunately, there have been numerous fires in our neighborhood and residential buildings. 764 9th Avenue had a fire in February. The building is still padlocked shut and vacant. That's about 10 units of housing that are gone. You also have 346 West 52nd Street, where a fire in the basement shut down Hell's Kitchen Clouds, also shut down Donji, a restaurant, and 12 units of housing are now vacant. That happened in May. So none of these buildings have active building permits or anything going on at them, and they seem primed to be demolition by neglect. I know at least at 764 9th Avenue, that owner owns 2 adjacent buildings. So I would like to be proactive in finding out what's going on with these buildings before they end up in a situation like 410 and 412 West 46, or what's going on 45th Street, where you have squatters coming in. I mean, I know they had to cut a hole in the roof on 9th Avenue to put out that fire on the 5th floor. So is that hole totally sealed up? Could people go from roof to roof? I mean, it's common to see people on roofs climbing down fire escapes. I don't know why NYPD won't tell the residents of the building about it. Apparently, we're not privy to that information, and our building managers don't tell us anything either. So before things get worse, I think we need to have an audit and know how many buildings in our neighborhood, in our district, are under vacate orders. How many units does that cover? How long has the order been there? And what is being done to get those units fixed and back? Because it sucks. You know, we're just losing housing left and right.
So in order to avoid the situation we've had with 410, 412 West 46th Street, let's have Jesse reach out with DOB and HPD on enforcement on both these locations and put them on our agenda for next month. Because you're right, being proactive, not to go down that rabbit hole of 46th Street would be very helpful.
I think an audit is a great idea too.
I also
The question is who does that?
I also just want to acknowledge Katie, for those of you who do not know, Midtown has been missing, was it 39 trash baskets?
Yeah, 39, but that's just on 9th and 10th Avenues from 42nd to 59th Streets.
And thanks to Katie's advocacy, she had DSNY bring baskets back. So thank you, Katie.
Simple pleasures, Katie.
You're welcome. I'm just very persistent, so you know.
It's funny that you learn when you have a dog.
So our last item on new business is a Chelsea NYCHA item, and it's an administrative letter as opposed to a major board letter. The community board met, we're having monthly meetings now with NYCHA and Related in Essence, to just try to get information, extract information from them as a follow-up to these various public meetings that we're having. Our next public meeting will happen in December in this committee. Also, CLU may have another public session on Chelsea NYCHA, therefore we move to a larger location with appropriate security. Out of that meeting on Monday this week, we asked specifically, what about the interim repairs? Who is doing it? What's the schedule? What's included? What's not included? Security, whatever. So out of that, we got not the straightest answer. And we also asked them to stop calling this the meanwhile repairs. I, again, said publicly, I said directly in this meeting, we got to hear the jargon from Chelsea NYCHA discussion of the proposal. These are interim repairs before this conversion happens to RAD, whether it's new construction, renovation, or combination of both, period. So, and we're going to piggyback onto the Chelsea land use ask that they did, where they wrote an email. We want to formalize this in an administrative letter for the repairs. Tell us what is included or not, how this agreement will work, what is the name of this agreement, what is the time frame for this agreement, and how security is folded into this agreement. Because when we brought this up on Monday, we got, well, not everything's included. No, we're sort of like indeterminate. Like, just tell us, he said, tell us the facts is you write just the facts, we can have a public meeting in December, put the facts out. You write it, we put it on our website, and then all the tenants, everybody knows what is included or not included here. Because it comes on the heels of Mike Noble, if you remember, at our housing, Chelsea Land Use Committee meeting, saying, is manor common included or not? What's happening? Like this, we want to try to, you know, we're trying to like just get some basic information out.
Clarification.
So it's all the same.
It's
And
administrative letter.
it's an administrative letter, and specifically, we do know NYCHA has done this before, when there's a rad pack development happening, that they do this limited sort of management control turnover. They tell us what it is, what it includes, doesn't include, and when you're gonna start it. So that'll be included in an administrative letter with the Chelsea Land Use. They asked for a bunch of questions too about how many apartments, the distribution that's gonna be going forward, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to bring this out tonight, have any discussion about what else we should include in a letter like this, which is really information extraction from NYCHA.
It's administrative, so.
Yeah, no, just wanted to.
The letters to who, NYCHA or?
The letters to NYCHA.
Related? Oh.
Well, no, we're gonna send it to NYCHA, Related in Essence, and it's the whole team. Okay. Yes, Chris.
Why isn't the regional commissioner of HUD included on that CC? Since she has previous history with RAD 2.0?
We're actually just asking for information at this point, as opposed to, like, our letter that goes from the board we did last night, will have a page of CCs.
Yeah.
This is more just NYCHA, Related Essence, give us information.
But if there's somebody available in that CC with contextual history that can help push Related in Essence to answer that question.
I would love to write to them subsequently if you don't get an answer. Let's first write to them and just ask the question. You know,
So this is the Chelsea Land Use?
Chelsea Land Use has already done this and sent an email. We're trying to formalize this into an administrative letter. And when I understood that, I said, oh, this committee can piggyback for information we want about these interim repairs. Like we focused on the rights, now let's get some information on repairs, and then we can actually opine on it when we get a response back.
So it's gonna be one administrative letter from both committees?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, as an administrative letter, I don't know that it makes a lot of sense for adding, you know, the super specifics, because again, we don't understand what's your process, what's your plan.
No, that's what I'm asking.
Right, but I mean, what I'm saying is going down the list of all the issues that we have documented that are still outstanding, I don't know that that makes a lot of sense to add in the
No,
letter.
it's not all the things. This is just, the one committee acted already and sent an informal email. We're trying to document that.
And so the repairs have nothing to do with what's gonna happen in the future.
Correct. So this is irrespective of what happens. Everyone has agreed there's this interim repair stuff. Tell us what it is, how you're doing it, and how it works.
And the tenants of for this,
I
generally.
think in general.
They want, yeah, well, we heard last night, we heard last night a public session, somebody told them about their.
Both sides.
Great.
You know, but just to know how it's being handled, that's the thing. We're in like a foggy moment here, like, rid of the smoke and the fog and just tell us what's happening. Okay, just wanted to, there was a notification, I'm sure everybody do that, because that's gonna go out sometime. All right,
Wunderbar, motion to
Great.
adjourn.
yes. Motion, motion.
So, I'm sorry.
Wait, Dolores, sorry, just a quick question, this letter would be voted on.
No, it's not, it's administrative letter.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
It's really so people, because this is so much happening here, we have to keep everyone apprised of what's happening, that's the most important part.
I have a request to the co-chairs of the committee that you reach out to Jesse and maybe Mark Levine. There is no excuse for another city agency not to appear before us. We are required to be here. Why aren't they? I resent having to watch a screen and they don't show up and we have to show up. Something's out of whack here. So can we reach out?
I made a point for the non-profits, there are local partners, they should certainly come.
Well, I think first, what we need to do is get clarification, like tomorrow I can get clarification from Nellie, she said there was a misunderstanding, I'm curious, and I can get the
Okay.
details about what that was.
Okay.
Before we take a step
You know,
further.
I think she's talking, he's talking
And
about,
Jenna, why they weren't here?
why aren't they coming in person?
Yeah, oh.
Is this gonna be the future that we are going to have to look at a screen and they're not going to have to come? Well, we are required to, why aren't they?
Statutorily, there is a
Yes.
requirement that they appear.
Exactly.
There is a statutory requirement in order for the board to conduct business for us.
No, he understands that,
But but
There's no
normally not.
There's no statutory requirement for any agency to come
Yes.
to us at all,
Yeah.
there is none.
Yeah.
However, they come because all city agencies working together, and I get to come out of my home and sit here for.
Yeah, so they're,
I think we have language that says, that's actually discouraging people other than the board to come there right now because the room is.
I just need the agency.
The people presenting. And so again,
Right.
pre-COVID, every agency was in person, they would present. It allows for understanding exactly the nuance in their presentation, being able to really engage. And the point is that we're here.
Yeah.
They should be here.
So, but but Roberta, you're saying they are not required to come.
Not under the open meeting law.
I see.
No, they're not required. It doesn't mean that they don't do it because they want to accomplish something, right?
Right.
I'd have to sit in my living room for the next 3 years.
But you can't.
Don't worry, we'll be term limited out.
Technically, they're working right now, right?
They're working.
Didn't the mayor require them to come back to the office?
Yeah.
So technically, this is an office. These are office.
They're in their office.
I mean, I would just say as a current public servant, former public servant, from a city agency, there are times when you are double or triple booked, you are sometimes, we are also very conveniently located, so it relative to the city hall. Yes, but at times it can be very challenging. Sometimes you have multiple meetings in different areas, and so it can make sense. But that doesn't mean that we can't request it if we would like to see it, and if we value it and see it as.
And also, I've never seen everyone come for everything, but like DHS would come on a regular basis to the presentations to this committee. The changing cast of characters the same, but like not every committee every meeting is covering this one, covering that one. That's a standard thing. But to have the human beings here, talk to the human beings.
Yeah, it changes.
It changes the whole back and forth.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if we request it.
Yeah, and I think as we, especially as this committee is moving for larger venues because of our Chelsea United crowds, we should be able to have it. Is there a motion now?
I'm making a motion to share again about the coat drive. Saturday, November 18th, it's gonna be at Metro Baptist Church, which is at, on 40th Street between like 9th and Dyer. You can come between Saturday, the 18th, come between 1 and 3 p.m. to drop new or gently used coats that are gonna be going to people who live in shelter in the district. And then from 3 to 5, people will come and pick up the coats.
And how are we getting that information out to like the community?
Like we do every year.
It's an
It's in an email in a flyer that I create for everyone in the district, and that Jesse distributes to the entire community and to nonprofit
And then
providers.
those,
And what would go on link to?
On the links is the kiosks, excited.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, we should ask that.
That's a good question. I have no idea.
we should ask.
But we should put some stuff up on there before, so.
Oh, no, yeah, definitely ask, but I think it's also all those organizations that get it, then also send it out too.
They're
Like it's free of, connecting.
So motion to adjourn.
Second.
But I'm gonna ask Jesse to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Another day, another show. That's not like me.
Here's your. Oh, Lord, I saw you doing it earlier.
Maria, you actually.
So you're doing it. What do you want me to do?
Close off the meeting. Video.
Yeah, we'll do talking. But now it's. They're presenting.